Hello, hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. I am Dan, your friendly fishmonger at dansfish.com, and we do this every Wednesday evening at 7 p.m. Mountain Time. That's 9 Eastern. For those of you that are mountain challenged, thanks for spending a little bit of your Wednesday evening with us. We appreciate it. Have a cool stream tonight, I think. We have a very nice little giveaway. Some of the healthiest little autosynclists I ever have seen. Fattest little bellies ever. And not bloat, like healthy fat bellies. Sometimes you have to be careful. Sometimes you're like, that fish looks so fat and sassy, and you look closer and you're like, oh, wait a minute, that fish is sick. It's got bloat. So you have to be careful of that. We'll do our shipping report, have the giveaway, and then we have some fish that I'm very excited about, some Killifish. So you know I'm very excited about them, that we are releasing for sale. So some new Killifish. Can't wait to talk to you about those and some other things. And then we'll open it up to general discussion. If you have questions about aquarium fish, aquarium keeping, shipping fish is a specialty of mine. If you are trying to ship fish and you want to know how, I can talk about that. Breeding fish, raising fish, lots of things, freshwater fish. I don't know anything about salt. I know almost nothing about plants. But general freshwater aquarium fish, I can probably help you out. And if I can't, there's someone in this community that I'm sure can. With that, let's get rocking and rolling. The shipping report. Not perfect, but pretty good. In fact, good enough that we raised up a few hundredths of a percent, 0.03%. So last week, our total was 98.38% success. And now, as of today, our total success rate shipping fish for the last 12 months is 98.41. So up from 0.38 to 0.41. 0.03%. That's good. Anytime you can change the number in that tenths spot right after the decimal, it feels like a real win. So sorry to folks that it didn't go well for. I mean, we ship so many fish every week now that statistically, when I only shipped, I don't know, a couple hundred fish a week or whatever, it was possible statistically, and it happened, that we would have perfect weeks where there were no losses whatsoever. But when you ship as many fish as we do every week now, it's just statistically very unlikely. So I keep waiting for that perfect week. It might happen, but it's the chances are like so slight now. But we're good enough. We're on our way up to our 99% success goal. We're getting there slowly but surely. Okay. Let's see. That's the giveaway, or that's the shipping report. Let's get to the giveaway. So the giveaway is for one of the most loved fishes out there, I would say. One of the most common fish that's used to help with algae control in planted aquariums and, you know, other tanks as well, is the autosynclists. We have the best batch of autosynclists I think we've ever got. It's just beautiful. Oh, that's funny. I switched to this camera, and it shows some ugly on the side down here. Oh, well, that's okay. Right over here. Some ugly down below that. Anyway, really healthy batch. Been good from the get-go. Came in strong with fat bellies. They've been eating like pigs for us. They love extreme catfish scratchers. They eat algae wafers. They're eating zucchini. We give them some Bacter AE on occasion as well to help round out their diet. And excellent batch. I'm always thrilled when I can get autosynclists happy and sassy for our customers, because I know there's a real problem with them in the industry. Often they'll come in and they're pinched up. They're emaciated, and it's hard to get those to recover. So these are now recovered. They've been through the treatment process. They should be good for you. There's a few fish that we're still working on. So like there's certain fish that have a high likelihood of coming in ill if you go buy them in a pet store or wherever, right? Just the supply chain doesn't do right by them. So CPDs are one. Pseudomuga luminatus, cardinal tetras, rummy nose tetras, just things like that just have some issues. Autosynclists is another one. one of the most common fish, especially algae-eating fish, but often there's issues. So there's a lot of those kinds of fish that we've kind of figured out. We know the good suppliers, we know the treatment protocol when they get here, how to help them recover from shipping. We've spent a lot of time and trial and error and figuring all that out. And the autocinklus, I feel like we're getting there. I feel like we're close. This batch definitely is doing well, but the last batch didn't do as well. So we still haven't got to the point where we've got it down to where it's steady success. But I think we're getting there. I think we're very, very close. So it makes me really happy when we can take a problem fish and just figure it out, figure out what to do, and then steadily do a good job with them. So we're on that track with these autos. It's definitely not perfect every time, but this time it was about perfect. I think this batch is fantastic. So with that, if you would like to win some autocinklus, there's a massive, long, confusing hashtag. I know people are going to hate this. It's hashtag auto, hashtag OTO. I think we can handle that, right? Hashtag OTO. Enter that in the chat and you'll automatically be entered to win a little group of autocinklus that we'll draw a little later on. There are 171 folks here. That ain't too bad for the first 10 minutes. If you wouldn't mind reaching out to your ex-lovers and inviting them into the stream, anyone that you think might be interested in this kind of thing, let's get them in here. Let's grow the channel. If you haven't subbed yet either, we really want to get to 30K subs. We're on our way there. We're a ways away, but that's the next big goal. So subs are appreciated. And with all that normal YouTube, please subscribe, please sub, please watch all my stuff all the time. With that out of the way, then let's bring in a little surprise. Just a second. I gotta figure. I'm gonna yell real quick, so I gotta figure out how to. I'm gonna move this away. Dylan, you ready? You want to grab a chair? All right. Just for a couple minutes, we're going to have someone join us here. Come on in, come in further, come in close enough that, yeah, there we are. Everybody, this is Yellowstone Aquatics.
Hello.
Yellowstone's been here for the last few days, and I always like to I'm here every day, right? Mm-hmm. And after a while, you stop seeing things. Like, it's like any job. Like, the first month you're there, you have all these ideas, and you're like, why do you do this? And this doesn't make sense, and all that. And then you're here for a while, and it's like you don't see it anymore. So since you're here and seeing it for the first time, I just want to get your impression of that. What are your initial things?
I didn't have any idea what I was going to walk into other than a warehouse full of tanks, but I was greeted by the most friendly crew, and they've been showing me the ropes on every aspect, and the quality and the standards that everybody's been showing me to uphold for Dan has been by far the best. I haven't seen anything like that. So it just blows me away. This store blows me away. I'm amazed every day coming in here. So,
well, I think we'll stop it there. No, well, is there anything that's like, why do they do it this way, or what? That doesn't make sense, or any like head scratcher moments or processes or anything you saw?
Nothing that. Everything for the most part makes clear sense to me. There's things that we do here that to keep things in case we do have something that comes sick. You know, every tank has its own net, every tank has its own feeding schedule and stuff. So everything is individualized as it can be to better care for each individual species. So everything just makes sense. It was a big learning curve compared to taking care of your own fish room at your house, which it may be a lot of tanks for some people, or it might just be a few for others. But coming from feeding those at my house, which was only about 20 tanks, to feeding this many tanks, it's pretty mind-blowing. So
yeah, it's like at home, it's like if you're like, hey, I'm just gonna go make this small adjustment to all my tanks, I'm gonna change the air stones or whatever. You're like, okay, good, you go do it, it's fun, you're done in a few minutes. Here, any change we make, it's half a day.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we rocked out. We had a great order today, and we rocked it out. Everything went smooth. And the order went out on Monday also. It was a pretty good sized order, and everything went smooth, so no hiccups. And the crew is amazing. We sure rock it out here for you guys. So yeah, we try to do the best for you.
So, yeah, thanks for coming by. I just want to get your take.
Yeah.
There's got to be at least something that you see you don't like. It can't all be unicorns and roses.
You know, I wish there was some background music. We all tend to listen to our own music. Sometimes I find that I zone out a little too much when I'm in my headphones and everything. That would probably be the only thing. I'm used to a shop with some background music and everybody singing along and having a good time, but everybody's friendly here, so
we'll have to try to see if we can get everyone to agree on
having a music day or something.
What kind of music can we get everyone to want to listen to? That's the rub. Maybe we don't. Maybe it's like one day one person chooses, we listen to their stuff, and the next day the next person, we're listening to their stuff, no matter what it is. Just expanding our minds.
Right, yeah. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks, Yellowstone.
Thanks you guys. Yeah.
So yeah, we are we can't talk apparently. We are remote enough out here in Sheridan, Wyoming that we don't get visitors that often. So when someone new walks in and gets to see the place, I always want to get their take. Yeah. Last thing before we get to questions and comments is just a friendly reminder that we are having a party here. We are opening the warehouse up to all you, anyone that wants to come see it. The weekend of July 4th. So July 2nd and 3rd, it'll be open. And if someone wants to come have a nice July 4th weekend, then come hang out. July 4th, we have to pack like crazy because we only have one shipping day that week because of the holiday on Tuesday. And so we're going to be just going nuts packing fish July 4th. But Sheridan has a nice fireworks show and stuff if you wanted to stay for that. So yeah, open house. We'll do a barbecue. Just bring your own self, and should be fun. So I have no expectations. We are off the beaten path for sure. So I don't know if 0 people will show up or if 100 people will show up. No clue. And no expectations. I'll be fine either way. There are the big rub is this. There is an airport here in Sheridan, and it does have service, and there's, I think, 3 flights a day or something like that. But there's no direct flights unless you're in Denver. All the direct flights go to Denver. The next best place is to go to Billings, Montana. There's a lot more flights, a lot more options, and it's only an hour and a half to 2 hours away if you want to go there and drive here. But that's the difference, is it is a bit of a drive. It's a pretty drive, though, especially this time of year. It's nice and green and beautiful. Big sky country, as they call it. But anyway, if folks want to come, you're invited. And the invite for that, the details are on the community tab here on the YouTube channel. So check that out. If you want to come see a one-of-a-kind fish facility doing things in a very different way than I think anyone else does them. And probably see some fish you've never seen before. Probably some fish you didn't even know you should be seeing before. So that's what I think is waiting for you here, besides some barbecue and a bunch of just geeks that want to talk fish all day. That's pretty much what it is. So that is the party. So check the details out on the community tab, and let us know if you want to come so we kind of know how much food to get. But you know, don't stress that either. If it's last minute and you're like, oh, I guess I'm coming, I didn't know, but I'll be there tomorrow. Let us know, and we have a store nearby. We can go get more food. No problem. It's kind of casual and loosey-goosey around here. But we've been wanting to do something like this for a while, but it's literally everything we can do to just grind out our work day and keep the fish healthy, ship the fish right, just maintain all this. But July 4th is on a Tuesday. So the only day we're going to be able to ship that week is Wednesday, which means Monday and Sunday, we literally can't pack fish up and send them out, which is what we would normally do. So we're kind of forced. It's like forcing us to say, well, what are we going to do? Well, let's have a barbecue. So that's kind of how that happened. Anyway, if anyone can make it and wants to make it, great, love to have you. If nobody can, it's okay. I'm not going to be crushed. It's not like I mean, you guys show up for what counts, right? When we opened the store online and had fish to sell, you guys showed up and supported us and bought fish, so we stayed in business. When we do live streams, you guys show up. Like when it counts, you guys show up. I know it's like Sheridan, Wyoming. How do you even get there? Like I get it. So, but if you do make it, I do think you could easily spend a couple days here and still want more. I think that's been most people's experience. All right. Thanks to my mods for being here and doing their mod things. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you keeping the chat in line. And with that, let's get to the questions and comments. Oh no, I have to show you cool new fish. What am I doing? Cool new fish, here we come. So, new stuff that's coming out. We have more purple pencilfish and more coral red pencilfish. Very nice group, ready to go. If you've been waiting on those, they're not inexpensive. They're a pricey pencilfish, but the colors are amazing. And we've worked hard to make sure these are all healthy for you. So those are there. Zebra Autos, glad to have those back in again. I wanted to also get the orange Zebra Auto, the like RoboCop Auto, but there just weren't any available. But we do have the zebras, which are also really cool. Marbled hatchetfish, nice healthy group. If you have given up on hatchetfish because you get them and then within a month they've all gradually died off on you, I would try these. I don't think that's going to happen with this group. We've treated them. We I think have a good group that'll do good long term for you. And then the C123, these guys, a very pretty Cory. It looks like a Corridor's elegans or elegans type, but with nice yellow on the fins. Now, it takes, after you get them, it's going to take a couple weeks before they're settled in enough that the yellow appears as strongly as it will. But it's there and it's coming, and they're just a really beautiful fish. Catfish are awesome. Corridors especially are awesome, but there's very few with much in the way of color, and this yellow just kind of sets these guys apart. Giant Autos. By the way, we have location-specific collection sites on a lot of these. Oh, we do have a location on the Zebra Autos. I will need to put that in there. That's not in there yet. I'm pretty sure I know that collection point, so I'll be bringing that in as well. The Vietnamese or Royal White Cloud Minnow. Last time we got these, we had to sell these for quite a bit more. This time we were able to get a good deal. They're still healthy and nice. They're just a little smaller, but they're also a lot cheaper. Nice batch of rosy loaches. Sparkling gouramis are back after a long hiatus. We were able to find a nice healthy group and get more for you. And by the way, the sparkling gouramis are living in paradise. Absolute paradise. They are in a tank just choked full of like chorus hair algae. And they swim in and out of that. They've each got their little space and they're loving it. I'm going to have to do a video showing that to you guys. It's really cool to see. And then some Medaka rice fish. If you like orange Medakas, you have a patio pond or what have you, and want a nice rice fish that isn't very expensive, $9.99 for a rice fish is a good price for a nice healthy rice fish, then I think those will work for you. Take a wide range of temperatures, very hardy, easy to breed, out and about, and you'll see them when you look down because they're not the nice orange color. And then I want to show you these. I don't know if this is this fish's first time ever in the United States, but it's my first time seeing it. These are a special fish that came out of Myanmar. Myanmar? It used to be called Burma. We don't know the species. We don't even know for sure if it's described yet. We're going to be releasing a short on these soon. And what you'll see in the short is basically a big group of these on the back wall, and they're constantly fluttering their pectoral fins. And when they do that, they shimmer, they reflect iridescent light a little bit. And so it looks like this iridescent glittery curtain when you have a big group of them all together, because they never cease to flutter those fins, especially when they're in the current. And we have a good current in that tank, so they're always doing it. This fish is a revelation. These guys are awesome. It's a hillstream loach, but it looks a little different than your typical hillstream loach. Here's a big pile of them. They're more what I would call a lizard hillstream loach. Some people call them giraffe, where the fins aren't really overlapping yet. They aren't like a big fused suction cup. So in the, I don't know, if you think of natural history, and you think of the evolutionary history of hillstream loaches, this would be like a loach that's kind of early on in the process, right? It hasn't quite specialized as completely as some of those other ones yet. And then with time and adaptation, you end up with those true UFO mini stingrays, Soelias, and pseudogastromizons and such. But these are amazing. If you're into interesting oddball fish, they're great. They're eating everything. They're 2 to 3 inches, so they're good sized. They're fat and sassy, not difficult to feed. Love frozen bloodworms, but also eat sinking pellets just fine. And these are super healthy. Johnny, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe we've had any problems with that batch. I don't think we've lost a single one. Really healthy, hardy, neat, new hillstream loach. And then the things I need to show you that are not on there, there's a couple things. I have pictures, but the listings were just done right before the live stream went, and so I didn't have time to put the pictures in the listings, but I want to show you these. I'm super excited to have some Aphiolibius, used to be called Terralibius, but Costa renamed a bunch of killifish recently, so this is now Aphiolibius parawensis. Beautiful South American annual killifish. We do have a, sorry, it's not Aphiolibius. I always do that. It's Aphiolibius. We do have a collection location for them. This is a male. They have a bright orange margin on the fin, and then they have kind of this submarginal yellow stripe, iridescent blues in the tails and the unpaired fins, and kind of this vertical striping pattern on the body. Another rock solid group. They did these right. Johnny and I were so happy when we saw these. They individually bagged every one of these, plus the other species of killie I'm going to show you. None came in dead, none came in damaged. Great shape. They ate right away. We have not had any complaints. This is a nice hardy batch. Another picture. Different male here. Female. Very clear, like easy to sex. And we got a decent sex ratio. One problem we've had with bringing in killifish, especially South American killifish that are wild collected, is the sex ratio. Oftentimes you order them and you get just all males. So we specifically said, please send us a mix, and they did a good job. So we're able to sell these in breeding groups of 1 male to 3 females, which is perfect when you're trying to spawn annual killifish. The males are hard drivers, so you actually want more females than males. And since they bury in the peat moss, they don't eat the eggs. Some killifish, sorry, I'm back. Some killifish, like mop spawners, if you have a whole bunch of fish that aren't spawning actively at a given time, they'll go through the mop and want to eat the eggs. But these peat divers, these guys will actually go down, like if this was peat moss here, they will go down in it and they'll dive down 3 inches all the way to the bottom, lay the eggs. They'll disappear and then they'll come shooting back out. The eggs are buried down in the dirt or moss or whatever. I mean, in the aquarium, it's peat moss, but in nature, it's the mud. And these aren't going to be eating the eggs if they're not spawning. So it's perfect to have 3 females to 1 male, because then the male isn't going to drive a single female to death, which can happen. They're crazy hard breeding drivers. And they're not going to eat the eggs. The females that aren't spawning are not going to eat the eggs. Here's another male. Just a absolutely gorgeous fish. And then something else I want to show you that we got in is Rivulus ornatus. These were harder to get a good picture of. I didn't capture all the red in the tail fin and the anal fin, but at least I captured the red spotting. This fish was way back in the back, and it's a small fish, maybe around 0.75 inches to an inch. Some of the females might be just over half an inch. And so my camera was having trouble picking up the detail, but for a Rivulus, this is a stunner. A lot of Rivulus are just what we call brown darts, but Rivulus ornatus is a pretty fish. Here you got the spots, and you kind of see some of the red in the anal fin and in the caudal fin, but I just never captured it very well with my camera. At least he's in focus. There's a female. This is what a lot of Rivulus pretty much look like, male and female. And then this is a cautionary tale. These are the best escape artists in the fish world. There might be some slithery eels, like slender types of eels that maybe give them a run for their money. But in general, Killifish are great escape artists, and Rivulus are the Houdini of the batch. They will find any tiny narrow gap and jump out of it. So caution, have a tight fitting lid for Rivulus. And this is something they do. When they're disturbed, if they want to get away, if they think they're escaping a predator or whatever, then they will straight up jump out of the water, which is about 4 inches under this fish, 3 inches under this fish, and stick to a leaf or something. They'll just jump out and stick and escape. This fish did it and it stuck to the lid. So this is a female Rivulus ornatus that jumped up and stuck herself to the lid to escape a predator, which was me when I got in the tank and disturbed her. So I had to take a picture. See, here's her, here's the lid, here's the water line down here. Oh, maybe this is the water line down here. No, it's gotta be, this has to be the water line, I think. Anyway, the point is she jumped up out of the water and I was able to get a picture, which is kind of nice. We also have, and I won't worry with the pictures on these, but we also have some electric blue rams. Perfect group of them, no issues, no losses. We're keeping all of our rams at 79 degrees and they're thriving for us. We've tried wild rams, no problems. Golden rams, no problems. Electric blue rams, which is the ones we have now, no problems. And next week, I'm gonna try some just regular domestic blue rams, German blue rams. But if you like the electric blue rams and you want healthy ones at a good price, they're only $12.99, which I think for the quality of those and everything we do to get them healthy and happy and quarantine them and everything, I think is a steal. You might be able to find rams for like $9.99 somewhere. So ours might be a little pricier, but $12.99 is definitely within industry range. And they're rock solid. And they're used to 79 degrees and hard alkaline water. So they should do well for you. Oh, I guess I should turn my phone reminders off. All right, let me see if there's anything else that I didn't get a picture of that I should bring up. No, I think that pretty much covers it. So let me just double check that those killies are in fact yeah, they are listed. So this is the Aphiolebus peruensis from Rio Itaia. I just don't have the picture up yet. So they are listed, they are available. And the Rivulus are as well. Okay, I thought so. I thought that would be the case. Then one last thing I should mention, just to clear up some confusion from last week on our website. We revamped our website a little bit, and I had thought that only the most recent reviews show up here, and that's not the case. Jonathan set me straight. What this is the top 20 reviews rotate. It doesn't matter if they're good reviews or bad reviews, they'll show up, but the top 20 are rotating through. So whatever the top 20 on the latest reviews are. Those rotate through. And then, oh, we have 1,000 reviews now. That's a milestone. Look at that, 1,000 reviews. And then this number here is for the month of May. This was our shipping success rate. And we'll do it again for June and July. So every month, we'll put the last month's, at the end of every month, we'll put that month's success rate up there. We don't have it yet to where it's automated, to where customers can actually enter their success rate and it just automatically stays up. And it's hard to like update every day. So we're just gonna do it once a month. I think that for now, that's the best we can do. But 1,000 reviews and we are at 4.96 success rate. That's great. Or, review rate, I should say. Now, there definitely are times when a shipment is not successful and we work it out with the customer and they don't leave a negative review, even though the shipment wasn't successful. That does happen. But that's not bad at all. I'm happy with that. We're doing our best. And I think our best is pretty darn good. So it's nice to be satisfied with your work. Okay, now that I've showed you those fish, and especially those killifish, folks, they're amazing. Now we'll get to the chat. I already thanked my mods, but thanks again. Also want to take a moment to thank the members, everyone that's joined up. We really appreciate your membership. I know we don't, right now we're just, man, scaling a business is difficult. Like taking this little engine that could and getting it up that hill just takes every waking moment, all my brain power, long days, often no days off, all that stuff. And so I really want to do something special for the members, but it all takes time that I don't have right now from just running the guts of the business, right? Running the core things in the business that have to happen. So I just want you all to know, if you're members, that I'm super grateful. I'm thinking of you. I don't know when I'll be able to get to the point where I can do things just for you, but like that are members only, like little treats and little perks that make it worthwhile to be a member. So thanks for being a member, even though I'm not doing that. Hopefully I'm adding enough value in other ways for you to keep that up until I can get to the point where I have enough bandwidth free in my brain and my energy to be able to switch focus to that. So memberships are important to us, but they're a very small part of the business, and I have to focus on the core of the business right now. So I haven't forgot about you. I'm just trying to keep up. That's honestly what it is. Okay, first one I can see is from Leo. Do otters eat diatoms? Oh yeah, yes indeedy. And should 4 be enough for a 75 gallon? Oh yeah, they eat a lot. I think starting with 4 would be a good thing to do. And they definitely eat that like brown diatom algae that if you scrubbed it with your finger, it would come off easily. It's not like tough green spot algae, but most surface algae they'll eat, especially if they aren't like super long and stringy. Although they'll kind of work on that stuff a little bit too, but mostly it's stuff that's on a smooth surface and is itself fairly smooth that they'll be very efficient on, very effective on. And yeah, it's hard to say if 4 is enough or not because every tank's different. And if maybe you have a 75 that just has the sun shining into it for 4 hours a day, direct sunlight from the window, and so you're going to need more than 4 because that algae is just growing like crazy. Or maybe you have the tank that's the light's only on 4 hours a day. It doesn't get a ton of light, but it's enough for algae to grow. And after about 3-4 weeks, you have a coating of it. You know, I don't know the scenario, but the thing you don't want to do is put so many in there that there's not going to be enough food for them. So I think erring on the side of caution, going for, 4 to 6, maybe in a 75. The good thing about these is these are already accustomed to eating algae wafers and things like that. So zucchini, coins, and all that. So even if they do eat all the algae, they're still going to be fine if you feed them other stuff. You can still get food to them, provided, and here's the big caveat, that there aren't a bunch of other fish in that tank that would eat that food up real quick before they can get to it, because autocinclus need a lot of what I call dwell time with their food. There's fish that eat real quick. They go and they're done, and they're good for a day or two, depending on the species. Some predatory fish don't need to eat more than once every, I don't know, a couple of weeks or so. Big gulper fish and stuff. And then there's other fish that kind of nibble at the food all day long. Grazers, if you will. So that's what the autos are. So if there's stuff in the tank that is going to eat any food you feed the autos really quickly, so the autos don't have a good amount of time with the food, then you definitely need enough algae for them to be growing in the tank at all times. So lots of surface area, lots of light, and all that. So it's not a yes or no question. Each case is a little different depending on the setup and the other fish, Leo. Nabokov fan 87. How do you monitor parasites and things for shrimp? Literally spent half an hour with a magnifying glass, being blind and unable to see. How much would it help to have an anatomy background? At least a pathology background. So I don't know much about shrimp. We've had one case, one parasite that we've noticed. Luckily, I think we've escaped the Elabobiopsia. Is that how you say it? The green slime, gross gelatin stuff that sticks to them. I think we've escaped that. We have had Vorticella. And Vorticella is actually pretty easy to treat. I think it was just Icex that treated it. Formalin treats a lot of stuff. But that's really it. And the only reason we knew what that was is that's very obvious. Like, that's a clear thing. You can see it. It's not easily confused with a lot of other things. So that's the one I've seen and treated successfully. Besides that, I don't really know anything about fish disease other than that there are shrimp disease, other than that it exists. But that's the only one I've really, I can remember, at least in the last year being here. Orange Cones, will you be kidnapping some of the partygoers to make boxes? If you're bored, if you're here and you're just sitting there off in a corner by yourself, I've got a job for you. There is plenty to do. But no, we want this to be fun. We want this to be a casual hang. We could use the break. You could use the break. Let's take the break together. And depending on what people want to do, like one of my favorite things to do here is what I call moose sighting or a moose safari. We have like kind of the best moose hunting with the camera that I've ever seen. So if we go up in those mountains around dusk and just drive around, odds are you're going to see a moose. When I took Bob Steenfod up there, we saw 3. Along with a massive herd of elk. There's deer everywhere, other wildlife. So there's fun things to do, but if everyone wants to just sit around and eat and drink and chat, that's fine too. Rye Guy Outdoors. Have you heard of brown peppered Corydora? If so, can you explain, please? So peppered, like the problem with common names on cories, especially the name peppered, is there's at least 2 species that are often called peppered or salt and pepper. Corydorus paleatus and Corydorus habrosus. And I don't know like what a brown peppered cory is. I don't even know what a peppered cory is because there's different fish that are called that. So common names are difficult. Let me Google real quick. Scientific names are very helpful. The whole point of scientific names is that each species has its own distinct identifier. Now, it's not perfect because there's confusion in what should be named, what is a species, what isn't, and all that a little bit. That's constantly being reworked in the scientific community. I mean, people need to justify their jobs. That's part of it, but also we're learning more all the time and discovering new things, and we need to reshuffle according to the new information. So I say justify their jobs with a grain of salt. I'm kind of being sarcastically joking a little bit, but that's the point of the scientific names. So when someone says that name, you know the actual organism they're talking about. Common names are developed basically to sell stuff. The industry says, hey, here's a fish. What could we call it that will get people excited to buy it? So that's kind of how common names work. Yeah, I see Corydorus paleatus. Brown pepper cory. In Pinterest, they're calling that Corydorus paleatus. I mean, is Pinterest a good information site for cories, though? So, I don't know. If it's paleatus, then I would say that that's one of the hardiest, easiest, also beautiful. I really like the bright green iridescence they get on their cheeks of all Corydoras. And we do have some available on our website. Let's take a look-see here. We have hyphens. Yeah, I don't think we have the normal fins, but we do have a hyphen variety. Now, I should state that, like I say here, the fish are juveniles and their fins will grow as they mature. So the fish we have for sale right now don't have the full hyphen effect, but they do get very nice high fins. And this is the green iridescence I was talking about. Like they are rather pretty with that iridescence. But if this is the fish that you're talking about when you say brown peppered cory, go for it. Super hardy, super peaceful, easy to breed, great beginner's cory. And do yourself a favor and get the biggest group possible. Cories thrive in large groups. Like a couple dozen or more, they're completely different fish than with like 3 or 6. Brian Radovic, the pumpkin spice shrimp you sent in mid-May have already dropped their first shrimplets. Yay! Very happy with that purchase. Thanks again. You're welcome. I'm glad that one worked out. Yeah. And we're reworking that line. So we did screw up a little bit and sent an order recently where some of them weren't as orange as they should be. So we have, a few weeks ago, we started a new colony to keep the line going. So I don't think that'll be a problem in the future. So sorry to that customer. Dragon Layer, just a note, in Myanmar, they use both names for their country, Myanmar and Burma. They aren't uptight if you call it Burma. Okay, thanks, yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's oftentimes we think we're being more offensive than we are, right? I've definitely discovered that as I've traveled the world. All right. Brody's Bettas, my McCurdy longfin and blue Glarus eggs just hatched today. That's amazing. Awesome. If you don't know these fish, 2 of my favorites. They're Killifish, and blue Glarus is hard to beat. Okay, feast your eyes on this. This is the fish that is kind of the mascot of the AKA, the American Killifish Association, for good reason. This thing can grow 4 or 5 inches with the tail. 4 inches at least. Big, beautiful trident tail. Big, beautiful anal fin and dorsal fin. Long, long, nice ventrals and pectorals. Nice blue spotted iridescence, and then you get the striping contrast. This is a stunner. I haven't had these in a while, but as a kid, I kept and bred these for decades. And I miss them, and one day soon I'll get them again. And something else about this fish is there are different locations. So some of the, let's see, let me show you the blue Glarus from Funge. See, okay, here's one location. I wasn't searching it, but it popped up. This is Loe. See how different it is? It doesn't have the orange down here. Instead, it has the nice iridescent green with spots. So different location, different look. And that is true for a lot of Killifish. Here's Funge. It has blue down there as well. So all kinds of neat colors. And then, oh, just love that fish. And then McCurdy longfin. Fundulo Panchax McCurdy longfin. No, I've never kept the longfin variety well, actually, I do think I had a few once. I don't think I ordered them. I think they just showed up. Because I like the regulars so much. I don't think the fish really needs long fins. I don't think it needs improvement. But I've nothing against it. Like, I'm just talking about my aesthetic taste. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what you're doing. If you like them, go ahead and keep them. No judgment or anything. But they're this fish. They're a McCurdy, which, let's see, is this? Oh, that one is the long fin variety. They're a McCurdy, but with long fins. Yeah, just such a pretty fish. So, two of my absolute favorites. Man, one day I got to get blue Glarus again. But congratulations, Brody's Bettas. I hope you raise hundreds because I want to buy them all. Random Arms, if you have a question and you want Dan to answer, please remember to tag him with @DansFish or just DansFish. That's right. If you do that, then a bright orange box appears around it. And I know that that comment is directed to me, and so I'll search that out and answer it. If it doesn't show up in a bright orange box, then I assume it's not for me. I assume you're just chatting among yourselves, having a good time. J. Russ, are you expecting any shipping delays to the Northeast related to the issues with the smoke there? I know several airports in the region have been affected by ground stops. It is so hard to predict that stuff, J. Russ. So am I anticipating them? No. Is it possible they could happen, and does it worry me a little bit? Yes. But I have no idea like what the odds are. So I really don't know. We'll find out though, because we've been shipping in the Northeast all week. So far, no issues. Mark Figueroa, what is your protocol for treating wild caught fish? It depends on the species, but there's a few things. So first off, we try to make the fish comfortable. So certain wild caught fish really want a place to hide. They want some cover. So we put stuff in there for them to hide in, take cover under. But we also make it so that it's easily removed so we can observe the fish to, every once in a while to make sure they're doing okay. So first thing is that low stress environment. So new fish comes in, give them a low stress environment. Next thing is super clean water. So we do 100% water change every 40 minutes to every hour. So that's super clean water. Those two things alone are half the battle, right? More than half the battle. Clean water, low stress environment. Give them that. Then the food. So we feed a lot of live foods, like live baby brine shrimp and things to new fish. We have scud cultures we use for some fish. Sometimes we buy worms. It just depends on what the fish is. Not usually, because, man, it's hard to find good worms these days, and the cost is astronomical, but that's something we do sometimes. And then there's also frozen foods. So frozen bloodworms, a lot of fish in the wild eat insect larvae. And so frozen bloodworms and mosquito larvae and stuff, right? Well, that is insect larvae, I guess. But mayfly nymphs and mosquito larvae and all kinds of that stuff. And so that's what bloodworms are. They are a midge fly larva. That is a very natural food for a lot of fish. So we feed those as well. Basically what we try to do, low stress environment, super clean water, foods that they will want to eat. And what we do for the first, like we give them 24 hours or so to settle in, sometimes 48. It depends on the fish and how skittish they are and how readily they are to want to eat. And then we give them a little food. And we're not trying to feed them, we're trying to judge their feeding response. And based on their feeding response, we know, okay, maybe we need to give them a little more food, or it's like, okay, that's it for today, we'll try again tomorrow. And after a few days of doing that, we've got everyone triggered by the food, right? We know how to elicit the feeding response. Pardon. Once the feeding response, and I'll get to the actual treatment, but this is all part of important stuff for as important or more important than medications are these steps. Once the feeding response is elicited, then we'll start giving them prepared foods. And we don't expect them to eat them. We're just getting them used to them. Some of them do. Some will eat them right away. And then other species, it might take a couple weeks or sometimes more before they eat them. Usually it's just a few days. So we've got them comfortable. Now we're getting them to eat. Okay, good, they're eating. So we're putting weight on them. We're feeding the foods they eat while we're introducing them to new foods. And then once they eat the prepared foods, then we shift mostly to that with supplementing it with the other live or frozen or whatever on occasion. So that's kind of the main thing. As far as treating, it depends. There are certain fish that we know because we've been getting the same fish from the same suppliers for a long time. We know this fish from this supplier generally has this sickness or this parasite or whatever. And so we treat for that. Other times we don't know, and we work with an aquatic veterinarian. And if we're just at a loss, we bring the vet on board to look at stuff, and they do diagnosis, and then we treat based on their diagnosis. Whenever possible, we're trying to treat an actual thing instead of just shotgunning medicines. So that's kind of how we work it. And then if we see if fish come in and they aren't doing great and we don't see anything obvious and there are no clear answers, then we do shotgun. Then we're like, okay, it's most likely this, and we treat for that. No improvement? Okay, now we're going to try this other medication and treat for that. That's why sometimes it takes us like 3 months before a fish is recovered from its arrival here and is fat and sassy and ready to go. Usually it doesn't. Our standard quarantine is 2 weeks, and usually most fish we can sell within 2 weeks. But there definitely are cases where stuff comes in and there's something wrong and we have to fix it. And either the vet can tell us, either it's something we know, or the vet can tell us what it is, or no one knows, including the vet. In that case, we're just trying to rule things out, trying this and hoping we find a medication that does the job. And sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. But that's basically how we run that. This last batch of fish, we treated everyone with, for example, samurai gouramis, amazing fish. But you have to treat them with levamisole because they have nematodes. They don't have a lot of other stuff, but they definitely have nematodes. And so whenever we get samurai gouramis, we clear the nematodes before we sell them. So it's not a one-size-fits-all. It used to be, but as we've got more experience and have worked with a veterinarian and kind of know which diseases each different type of fish generally has, we've been able to more effectively pinpoint and treat. Instead of just like, napalming the entire thing, we can treat what we need to treat. That was a horrible way to say that. I'm sorry. Jeez. I was trying to say, instead of like just painting with a broad brush, we can get to the point that needs the attention. Napalm, geez, sorry. Andrew Wang, I am setting up a 350-gallon planted discus aquarium. Oh, that sounds so nice. How many autos would be good for this tank size? Other algae eaters will include 3 L168 butterfly plecos and 15 Stiphodon gobies. First off, that tank sounds amazing. However, discus can definitely eat autosynclus. So if you do them, I would suggest maybe the giant autosynclus. They're decent algae eaters. They're not as good, I don't think, as your normal autosynclus, the common autos. But I think that the normal autosynclus, Vitatus or whatever, those small guys, I think they would get eaten by the discus. And that might kill the discus because when an auto goes, it doesn't go lightly. It's got a lot of armor and it's got spines, and it's going to go tunk and wedge itself in the discus's throat. Also, most Stiphodon gobies, I think, would be small enough that the discus could eat them as well. So with that in mind, and ignoring that and just talking about the size of tank and it's planted. Let's see here. Yeah, most of those fish are grazers, the plecos and the Stiphodon gobies. You could do a lot. You could do a lot. And it's planted. I don't think 50 would be too many. I really don't. Because you're going to be able to feed algae wafers if you need to supplement their diet. You should anyway. Anyone listening, feed your autos. Yes, they'll have biofilm and algae to graze on and stuff, but these guys eat a ton. Feed your autos. They have high metabolisms and they eat a ton all day long. But 350 is massive and there's lots of plants and stuff. That means there's lots of surface area. 50 would be easy for that size tank. You could do more, but I think 50 is, I think I'd start with 50. Yeah, I really do. So that's my thoughts, Andrew. I hope that's helpful. Brody's bettas my blue galaris and McCurdy. Oh, yeah. Oh, we also got Medaka rice fish, and they've been doing well. Good. Hope you get babies of them as well. Tracy, my golden killie drove me nuts jumping out. Yep, absolutely. Killifish are the escape artists of the fish world, and rivulus are the Houdini of the killifish. Tiniest hole. I learned very quickly to cover the entire lid. Yes. Now, there's a few species of killies that aren't as prone to jumping, like Florida flagfish, not as prone. It can still jump, but, you know, it's probably not any more likely to jump than your average swordtail or platy or rainbow fish or something. It can still happen, don't get me wrong, but most species of killifish, not only can they jump, they will. It's not if, it's when. And it's usually like the right when you put them in. Noel Waters, what are some potential tank mates for Amazon puffers in a 40 breeder? If I want to keep the scale munching to a minimum, I'd like a community of Amazon River organisms. Okay. Well, getting them from the river itself is a tall order. Tank mates that are only from the main channel, the river itself. But the general region and its tributaries, that's doable. And really, almost anything that is of appropriate size and peaceful and doesn't sit still for long periods of time, I think is the answer. Now, I don't know if it'll work every time, but I've definitely seen large community tanks with puffers in them and lots of other fish, apistos, tetras, CPDs, all kinds of other fish. So I think most things can go with them. I would shy away from anything that sits still for a long period of time, like a Corridora can or a Pleco or, you know, something that's crunchy and still. But then again, I always have to keep in the back of my mind, these are puffers. And is it going to work every time? I don't know. But I've yet to talk to someone who tried Amazon puffers with fish of the sort that I'm describing as potential tank mates that had a problem. Yes, we've seen them maybe nip the fins of maybe some cories and stuff. But then there's other people I've talked to that they've been fine with cories. So, Noel, I think it can definitely be done. Like right now I have Amazon puffers with archerfish and some algae eater, like Siamese algae eaters, and that kind of thing. And they're doing fine. There are some Corridors paleotis in there as well, and I think they're doing okay. But I do, every time I look at the tank, I check the paleotis and I'm like, are they getting nipped? Because I do always think maybe that is going to happen. I don't know for sure, though. 287 people here. Rico Stan says, are we going to hit 300 people this week? Of course we are. Everybody has a bad breakup from their past, and they want to invite that person to join the chat, right? They want to get that person in here and make this super lively and dramatic. No, but seriously, if there's someone that you think would enjoy this, if there's a fish nerd out there that you think would enjoy this kind of thing, let them know what's going on. Let's get to 800 plus. Okay. Let's see, scrolling here. Oh, I've missed some super chats. Let me get on them. Kelly Foreman, Nice to see Yellowstone on screen. Yeah, it's been fun having Yellowstone here. And thank you, Kelly, for the support. I really appreciate the super chat. Much appreciated. Never required, but always appreciated. The NY Fish Guy, Felix Miranda. Your depth of knowledge is truly impressive. Thank you for what you do for our hobby, Mr. Fishmonger. Well, thank you. There's big gaps in my knowledge. I don't want to pretend I know everything. There are certain groups of fish that I'm just like, I don't know much about. The goldfish. I don't know much about goldfish. I want to keep goldfish sometime. Like maybe in the future I have this vision of like a rack full of goldfish. But before I do that, I'm definitely gonna have to research a ton because I know barely anything about them. And something that I learn more and more every day is the more you know you don't know. So every time you uncover an answer, 10 new questions pop up. So that's what I actually love about this, doing this for a living. Like there are some things where it's like you've learned pretty much what you're going to learn about that thing. And now you're just doing the same thing every day, right? Lots of jobs, lots of industries, lots of things like that. I'm never going to get bored here because there's so much to learn. There's always something new. There's always some mystery to solve. There's always some behavior I've never seen before. There's always, like, I don't know, I've never put these two species of fish together. How is that going to go? Like, there's all kinds of stuff. So that's what I love about this hobby. No one's an expert. Honestly, they aren't. Now, some people know more than other people, but everybody's got a ton more to learn. And no one's going to live long enough to learn it all. Bryce, a new member of the Fishmonger crew. Well, cheers, Bryce. Thanks for joining up. Highly appreciated. It really does make a difference. All the members in aggregate makes a difference for our company. Thank you for your support. Okay. I'm going to get this one about ick and then I'll scroll up because it sounds like someone's struggling. Night Owl Aquatics. Been fighting ick for over a week on an L183. And if Snow White, I don't know what that means, but nothing is working and getting worse. From what I can find online, it looks like Epistylus maybe. Any hope? Yes. The thing is that when we have Epistylus, we treat it the same way we treat ick. We don't raise temperature or any of that stuff. We just use Ick-X. So the fact that you've been fighting it for a week and it's still not getting better makes me question if it is in fact Epistylus. Now, one thing that helps eliminate Epistylus is turn off the light. So what Epistylus is it doesn't feed... Sorry, man, my voice. One sec. Epistylus isn't like a parasite that feeds on a fish. It's a little protozoan that uses the fish as a home. So it's not eating the fish, it's just using it as an anchor point. And the reason that's important to know is, okay, so see this? It's got kind of this long stalk with this mouth up here. And it's got these little, it'd be called ciliates on the mouth that it uses to suck food in. Let's see if we can find, okay, this is really clear. See these little thing here, these little ciliae, I think is what they're called. That's used to bring food down into this mouth here. In this tail end, does it show the full tail end? It's not really showing it, but this tail end has hooks, has these kind of vicious hooks. And what the Epistylus is doing is it's hooking into the flesh of the fish to anchor it as a hold fast so that it stays, so it doesn't float around, right? It needs to hold on to something. And all those hooks start damaging the fish because they're piercing into the fish. And as that colony of Epistylus reproduces on the fish, then the fish is just getting punctured over and over and over and over again. And that's the damage that the Epistylus does. So it's not eating on the fish, it's just damaging it. So what is the Epistylus eating? It's eating bacteria, it's eating algae, it's eating all kinds of free-floating little protozoans and micro animals and stuff. That's what it's eating. So turning off the light can help with Epistylus because then the algae lowers, there's less algae to eat. The little protozoans that feed on the algae, their population lowers, and you're just getting less food available for the Epistylus. So we have found ICX very effective, along with turning off the light and making sure the water is really clean. A 50% water change every day might not be a bad idea. You're just trying to clear out all those little microorganisms out of the water column that the Epistylus can feed on. So you have to be careful. You don't want to crash your whole system, but changing that water frequently and making it nice and clean will help because it will deprive the Epistylus of food. So that's what I've got for you. We treat it with ICX. And yeah, that's my best thoughts. Something else you might be able to do, especially if it's not a planted aquarium, if you can add salt without harming the aquarium, 5 to 8 grams per liter. Quite a bit of salt. What that does is, I don't know if that actually combats Epistylus, but it helps combat osmotic stress on the fish. So if you are a fish and you're in fresh water, you have a problem. The problem is your blood is salty. The fluid in your cells is salty. You're a salty organism, just like humans. You know, our insides are very salty. We're basically sacks of salt water. Same with freshwater fish. And the fish is surrounded by fresh water, not salty. So osmotic pressure is constantly on the fish, which means the fish's cells have to find ways, have to do work, have to expend energy to keep pushing the fresh water out, to keep the osmotic pressure from allowing the fresh water to flow in and flood the fish. When that fails, when the fish can no longer sustain that workload and the osmotic stress becomes too much, that's oftentimes when we get things like dropsy, where the fish just is bloated up completely because fresh water has invaded its body cavity and its tissues, and there's nothing the fish can do about it. It doesn't have the energy anymore to keep pushing that out. It can't do that work anymore. Your fish has a bunch of puncture wounds, whether it's from Epistylus or from ick, or it's got a bunch of puncture wounds, if it's one of those two things. Little holes in its tissue where fresh water has a great advantage because now there's a hole in the tissue where the fresh water can, you know, the osmotic stress is higher, the pressure is even higher there at those points. So putting some salt in the water might damage the Epistylus, but it will definitely relieve the osmotic stress on the fish. Since the water will be somewhat salty, it takes less work to keep it out of its tissue. So I would recommend that if 5 to 8 grams per liter, if the tank can sustain that much salt without killing off all your plants or whatever. So that's my best, that's the best I've got for you with what I know about your setup and everything. And who knows, here's another issue. There are over 20 pathogens that can present similar to ick. Epistylus is one, but there's many different ones, including certain viruses. So maybe the issue is that you don't have Epistylus or ick, maybe it's something else. And I hate to say that because that could be discouraging. And it's like, well, then what is it? All right? That's one of the great frustrations of the aquarium industry and the aquarium hobby is that often we don't know answers. If there's no aquatic veterinarian around to examine the fish and tell us, then often we're looking at a symptom and we're like, well, there's a symptom. There's white spots or what have you. Let's say white spots. Hopefully it's ick. It looks like ick. I'm going to treat for ick. Oh, it went away. Good. It's either ick or something that, you know, is treatable with ick medicines. Lots of protozoans can be treated with ick medicines. Formalin and malachite green and all that. But maybe it's not. Maybe it's a viral thing that's going on and it presents similar to ick and similar enough that we think it's ick. And we try treating it and it doesn't get better, it doesn't get better. We're like, we have super ick. Maybe what you probably have is a completely different thing altogether, right? So it can be discouraging, and I feel your pain, and I've been in that situation many times myself where I'm trying to treat, but we don't know exactly what it is, and I'm trying my best, and sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. So wishing you the best, Night Owl. I hope it goes well for you. On a different note, we are at 290. We are so close to 300. We can get there. We can get there. For sure. Okay, I'm scrolling up to where chat was. Okay, scrolling. Okay, wow. This is the first one I can see. Chat jumped really far, so I'm sure some of them got cut off. But the first one I can see is Tony Adams. You're 100% about autos, and they are part of my cleanup crew. I now don't clean my back wall glass right to make sure they always have algae to eat because my Siamese algae eaters. Yes, absolutely. That's great. On our tanks, we typically only clean the front glass. Not just because we have so many tanks that it would take so much time to do anything else, although sometimes that's the reason, but because a lot of our tanks have little algae eating shrimp or ottos or what have you. And even if they don't, tetras like to pick at that stuff. Rainbow fish like to pick at that stuff. Live bearers graze on that stuff. So we kind of like that. Now, Siamese algae eaters, what they're great at, since you have both in your tank, they're great at getting in the little crevices, right? Little nooks and crannies. If you have plants, they're great at getting at that point where you got the stem, right? And then you have the little plant, the main stem, then you got the little leaf branching off, and you have this point where it meets. Ottos don't get in there as well, but Siamese algae eaters have this little mouth that can kind of get in there and get stuff. Now, Siamese algae eaters are not generally very good at big flat surfaces like aquarium glass. That's where ottos shine. Ottos will do like, you know, broad leaves like Amazon sword plants or crypts or whatever, Anubias, all that just fine. But if you have fine rockwork or a lot of crevices and nooks and crannies, Siamese algae eaters are a great addition to that. So are shrimp. Shrimp get into all that stuff. Anyway, Tony, yeah, I think that's great. Don't clean the back glass. Let the fish have some natural food. Ron Rivas, what are you feeding your Sulawesi shrimp? Oh, they get a big range of stuff. Lots of different prepared foods. Sometimes it's Hikari Massivore Delight. Sometimes it's Extreme Scratchers. Sometimes it's flake foods. Sometimes it's Extreme Nano Pellets. Sometimes it's a piece of zucchini that they don't always eat, but they'll graze on it a little bit. Sometimes we'll have a clump of algae in another tank and we'll take it out and put it in for them to kind of graze on. Plus, they're nice mature tanks with light on, so there's always stuff growing that they're just grazing on. But as long as you have a nice mature tank that has the ability to grow biofilm and algae and is stable, then I think they'll do well. Just supplement the diet with some prepared foods. They are not picky. They're not picky at all. We don't have any trouble feeding any of the Sulawesi type shrimps. Termasaurus, hi, my ottos are breeding like crazy. Oh, that's awesome. I was just curious how often I should do water changes with the babies. Also, any suggestions on how to keep the babies from getting sucked up in the python? Now, that's a challenge. And the best thing I can think is of a mesh, like putting a mesh net or pantyhose or something over the end. That's big enough, depending on the size of the little babies, just small enough that the babies can't get through, right? So it's big enough that hopefully it's getting some of the stuff out, but not so big that it pulls up the babies. I mean, that's my best thought. I'm sure someone else has a better answer, but yeah, yeah. And how often should you do water changes? It totally depends on how you're feeding them, how many you have, how you have the tank set up and stuff. But the principle is this. How do you keep food in front of them pretty much all the time with baby autos and keep the water quality from fouling? So I would change the water as often as you need to make that happen. And every setup's different. If it's a little plastic container, maybe it's 3-4 times a day. If it's a nice established aquarium, maybe it's once a week. It varies highly, Tamara. But keep the food in front of them and keep the water clean. And with your setup, the only way to know what that number really is, how often, or the frequency really is by testing. If you start seeing ammonia or nitrites or high nitrates or whatever, you know, time to change the water. And that's it. I wish there was like a one size fits all, but every tank is its own individual ecosystem. Not just tank, every container we have fish in is its own individual ecosystem, and each one is set up differently and is individual. So each one has different requirements. But I'm glad to hear that they're breeding. I think that's awesome. How's fish? How many horseface loaches? Love that fish. So neat and so good for your substrate. Would you put in a well-planted 60 with lots of hiding spots? Also, any sense when Tenga half-beaks and blue neon blue gobies will be restocked? Maybe. Let me see here. I'm trying to get more Tenga half-beaks in right now. That's a fish that I never want to be out of. I really like it. But I think they told me that they were out. Yeah, they're out right now. So I'm going to try again. Like the next time I order, so in a week or two, I will try again. But they aren't always available. But as soon as they are, I'll order a big group. I have a supplier that generally does a good job with them. I would say they're about 80% does a good job with them. We still have some work to do, but we're getting better all the time. And yeah, I'll order I'll order again, and as soon as they have them, I'll try to get them. I don't know the timeline though, because it's kind of up to them when they have them in stock. And neon blue gobies, I'm not exactly sure. So we have a group of neon blue gobies right now that's doing decent, but we need to get some weight on them. We sold all the ones that are, I mean, they're healthy, and we sold several, and they're doing well for people, but there's one tank where they're definitely, I think, healthy, but they're not gaining weight. They don't have as much weight as I want them to have before we sell them. So I'm just trying to fatten them up, and I don't know exactly how long that'll take. Sometimes that's real quick. It's like a week. And then sometimes you're like feeding a fish, and you're like, what is going on? And like a month later, they're finally fat and sassy. It really depends. Part of it depends on tank mates. Like, are there other fish that are in there eating some of the food? How do you combat that? Yeah, there's all kinds of situations, variables in that situation. Xanadu, do 4th of July fund. Why, thank you. We will buy some barbecue with that for the people. Barbecue for the people. Sounds like a t-shirt. Fishcapades. Oh, and thanks so much. Really appreciate it. Fishcapades. For your first goldfish, my first goldfish. Thank you. That is worth that comment. That is hilarious. Yes. And I think that's true. My sister had goldfish. I've had lots of friends that have had goldfish. Have I ever had my own goldfish? Oh, excuse me. Need to wake up here. I don't think I have. Thank you, Fishcapades. I appreciate that. Night Owl Aquatics, thanks for your help. Yeah, I've been trying ICX, salt, water change, etc. Never had a problem like this. Yeah, could be something completely different that presents similar to ick or similar to Epistylus. I wish you the best of luck. That's a rough one. I've been there. Hey Dan, how are your African butterfly cichlids doing? I just ordered a trio as my first ever purchase from you. Can't wait to receive them. They're doing good. Yeah, I think they're going to do great for you. We've had them for a while, so that's a batch I know well. It's in my section, so I know that fish well, and they've been trying to think if they've been any spawning activity or not. Every now and then one fires up, and I'm like, they're going to spawn, but I don't think they've spawned in that tank yet. But I think they'll do great for you. That's a hardy fish. It's peaceful, it's small, and it's colorful. So I think it'll do well for you. I'm a little nervous about the trio, though, because I don't know how well I'm going to be able to sex them. So is it a sex trio, or did you just order 3? Well, try my best. We'll try our best to get you both sexes. But I can't guarantee it. Unless we did guarantee it. Maybe Johnny has looked at him as like, oh, there's an obvious male and female. I'm not sure. But health-wise, I think they're going to do great. Cool videos from a cool guy. Super cool. Mardell, quick cure saved my wild mollies from an ick outbreak. Yeah, absolutely. That's what it's for. And I'm glad to hear it was successful. Jacob Metzner, talking about these swordtails. Also, the Rio Atoyac Hellerai swordtails have already tripled their population. Yes! I'm convinced baby swordtails are the cutest fry. Thanks for all these dreamfish. Jacob, I'm thrilled to hear it. Please raise hundreds of them because I would love to buy them from you. That is a fish we need out there. For those that don't know this fish, it is a very beautiful swordtail. Sorry, I'm trying to like type and talk. So it is like your a fancy wild swordtail. So it's a Hellerai species. It's not a rare species or anything, but the location is interesting because the color is really neat, and then it's got these kind of melanistic spotting on it, a neat spotted pattern. I love them. I think they're just so neat. Wild type live bears are just amazing. Speaking of live bears, if you have stopped trying guppies and platies and mollies and swordtails because live bears are not as hardy as they used to be, I totally get it. I'm happy to say we've found a great source. We've got a protocol in place. We've worked with a veterinarian. We can get you really happy, like super fancy, good quality guppies. They're not cheap. None of them are cheap. I mean, we had to bring a vet on board. We had to send stuff to a lab for diagnostics. We've had to kind of dial this in. But I think for the most part, I mean, they're living organisms. They can surprise us. But for the most part, I think we've got them dialed in. So if you're one of those people that, like me, just like got fed up with domesticated live bears because it's hard to keep them alive, I think ours are going to do good for you. Give them another try. It's not cheap by any means, but that's what it takes to get them healthy. Live bears it's been so nice to get back into live bears and not have that issue where it's like, oh, I got a new batch. I better breed them before they die. Please drop babies before you die. Like that used to be the entire goal because they just were so unhealthy. But I think we figured a lot of that out. Okay, gonna go to, okay, cool videos from a cool guy. 298, we must have hit 300, right? I just didn't see it. I bet we did. Oh, this might be the last one because it is 828. Wow, that was fast. 302, we did it. Yes. All right, everybody. Like, I don't know, pop your champagne, pull your sparkler. Yeah. What's that? Popper. Pull your popper. We hit 300. Thanks for being here, folks. Thanks for helping us hit 300. Really appreciate it. Cheers to everybody. One last drop, please. All right. Have you ever heard of red-tailed Dalmatian platy? My friend picked up a male and a female for my 30 community aquarium. I mean, there's a bajillion kinds of platy. Let's look at that one. Red-tailed. Oh, wow. Yeah. Yes, I'm familiar with this fish. I don't think I know it under that name. I think it's like a calico Marlboro red or something like that. But yeah, pretty fish. I really like these kinds of fish. I like the ones that have contrast. That is why this is my favorite fish ever. My favorite platy ever of all time is this, the neon yellow calico platy, because look at the contrast. It's got that bright yellow and orange with this nice black contrast to it. And I just think that's beautiful. I think the contrast makes the fish. So, yeah, I'm with you. I like that kind of yin and yang, that light and dark. Aesthetically, I just think it's really pleasing. Dragon Layer's been a member for 10 months. Patrick, thanks for the continued support. Really appreciate it. Bob's not here. Consider this Pippi Longstocking warning. Well, I hope Bob's doing well. Okay, I will consider this the warning, and we're going to close this down. First off, thanks to my mods for being here every week. Really appreciate you. And good for Bob for taking a night off, man. Hope he's okay, though. That does worry me a bit. Hope he's doing well. Okay, thank the mods. Thanks to the members. Appreciate your memberships. It's all that support adds up in aggregate, and it's really helpful. Thank you. Everyone that threw money at us tonight, wow, thanks for throwing the dollar bills. Thanks for making it rain. We appreciate it. If you were active in the chat, thanks for asking a question. Thanks for doing a comment. Oh, I didn't do the drawing. Oh, I bet chat's going nuts down there saying like, the drawing, sir. Let me finish the sign off, and then we'll do the drawing. Let's just switch it. I'm already almost done the sign off. Let's just do it. And then when that's done, we'll just say bye. Yeah, let's do that. Okay. Everyone listening on the replay, hello from the past. If you're lurking, now I'm all screwed up on my sign off. Oh yeah, if you're a lurker, hail the Lurker Nation. If you're listening on the podcast, thanks for listening. Let's do the drawing that I totally forgot about. For a nice group of autosinkless, we have 240 people entered, and the winner is Laura Bustos. Laura, congratulations. It always makes me happy when someone who's like active in the community and in the chat every week wins. Well, you've got 2 minutes, Laura, to chime in. Let us know you're here to claim your winnings. If you fail to do that, then you void your winnings, and they go to someone else. Then we draw somebody else. So while we're waiting, just watching chat here to see if Laura Bustos chimes in. Come on down, Laura. There she is. Am I behind on stream? I'm here. All right. Awesome. Well, Laura, congratulations. You know what to do. Send us an email to hello@dancefish.com. That's HELLO@dancefish.com. And we need your first name, last name, and mailing address in that email. And then we'll reach out and we will set up a date to send you your fish. All right. Well, we already signed off, so we'll be back next week. Same bat time, same bat channel. Hope to see you then. Have a good one. Bye-bye.